One wise man said, if you don't own your masters, your master owns you. The second wise man said, artists are too eager to sign deals without doing the math. You want to know why indentured servant 2 came about? It was born of a need for cheap labor. So what's the difference between an indentured servant and a recording artist? I'll be back. Hey folks, welcome back. Thank you for your time and attention. Let's jump into this. I know some are like saying, how is a recording artist similar to an indentured service? How are they or an indentured servant? How are they cheap labor? The money that these artists are advanced is a loan. It's only a loan. It's not money that, like, if they get a $10 million deal or loan, they're not keeping that all in their pocket. That is for them to produce their project. Hire people. Those producers aren't cheap. Tracks aren't cheap. You thinking you hear all this money that an artist signed, or when they signed a contract, all this money they got, that's a loan. So at the end of the day, bottom line, these are employees working to pay off a large debt. So at your 9 to 5 look a little better than what they have. At least your 9 to 5, you're putting that money in your pocket. This right here, the loans that they're getting, once they pay all the things they need to pay to get their project off the ground, how much money do they have left for themselves? Now, I'm sure that's how, they get sponsors and advertise for folks. And I'm sure that money, when they pay back some of that loan, I'm sure the record label will let them keep something to stay afloat. I mean, I hope, like, at least buy a house, put a roof over your head. You got to sleep and rest so you can go and continue to pay the master, right? So, okay, let's get on to this content. Okay, this article was published in 2020, and it breaks down Kanye West, aka YEEZE's publishing or music contract. He wanted the world to know what was up, and they obliged. So now we're going to oblige. Check this out. It's a pleasant Wednesday afternoon in Cody, Wyoming, and Kanye West is doing what he does best, tweeting. Scrolling through Kanye's Twitter account is like diving headfirst down a rabbit hole. The more you read, the further you're sucked into his stream of consciousness in a world where Bible extracts, presidential announcements, and personal attacks merge into one. And in this Twitterverse, Kanye's the protagonist. So on Wednesday, September the 16th, 2020, I believe, the article was published in 2020, but I don't know if that was the year that, okay, let's continue. The rapper picked up his phone and embarked on a new Twitter quest. In a rant that culminated in him urinating on his Grammy Award, Kanye screenshotted and uploaded decades worth of confidential contracts between him and his record label, Rockefeller Records, a division of Def Jam, which is owned by Universal Music Group, to Twitter. I need every lawyer in the world to look at these, Kanye said. So I did. Behind every great quest is a motive. And Kanye's raison d'etre is ownership of his master recordings. Whenever you hear a song, whether on Spotify or as a background music in a movie, it's because the owner of the master recordings has licensed the song to be used in that way. Essentially, controlling the masters means controlling how the song is used and any money the song makes. In the streaming world, master ownership is everything, Kanye said on Twitter. Without the masters, you can't do anything with your own music. It's normal for record labels to own artists' masters, as Refinery points out. Columbia Records owns Beyonce masters, Republic Masters owns Ariana Grande's, and Universal owns Kanye's. But Kanye wants to break tradition, comparing the music industry to a modern-day slave ship. The rapper complained on Wednesday of being locked into an unfair contract and accused Universal of ignoring his request to buy back his master recordings. That part where they said he wanted to buy back his master recordings, the image that popped in my mind was Kanye wanting to buy his freedom. Like he was a slave and he had the money to buy his freedom. That's what popped into my mind. Let's continue. To be fair, this isn't the first time Kanye's cried wolf. Last year, he pointed his sword at EMI Records, accusing them of trapping him into a contract of servitude. EMI swung back, pointing out Kanye willingly signed multiple contract extensions. After a year of back and forth, Kanye and EMI finally put down their swords and shook hands, settling their lawsuit 9 months ago. Now Kanye is once again gearing up for battle. It seems Universal, along with every major record label, is the latest Goliath the rapper is intent on toppling. Round 1. Kanye's first jab against Def Jam and Universal is the accusation they made him sign a bad deal. Lawyers around the world were quick to emerge from the shadows and defend the labels, arguing a rapper that gets paid six-figure advances should be complaining. And to an extent, they're not wrong. The contracts show Kanye received $2.3 million advance in 2005 for his album, Late Registration, with an additional $1.2 million as recording budget. For his 2013 album, YEEZE, Kanye West was given a $12 million advance with a $4 million recording budget. For Life of Pablo, he was advanced $6 million with a $3 million recording budget. And then you listen to those numbers, people who haven't been exposed to that kind of money, I'm sure it seems like it's a lot. But compared to what these people do, compared to what these artists have to do, the touring, the representing, the doing interviews when they don't want to, the all the things that take place in the background that we don't know about. I think it's a small amount of money compared to what these record labels and executives are getting. Let's continue. One lawyer told the BBC multi-million-dollar advances like this are rare, and that Kanye's royalty rates are industry standard. Another said the contracts were hardly as bad as predatory as Kanye makes out. Nearly any experienced music business attorney, wrote Variety, would likely feel proud to have negotiated these contracts. I'm sure they would because they get a percentage. Let's continue. Record labels are investors. When they give an artist like Kanye an advance, they expect it to be recouped through album sales. So Kanye probably had to pay back every penny Def Jam and Universal advanced to him before he was able to profit from his music. It's likely managers, lawyers, and producers also stuck their hands into the pot of cash to collect their commissions. So even though Kanye got paid millions of dollars in advance, he didn't get to keep it. Might as well work the regular job. It's Sam. What was it? Uncle Sam is taking out your money before you get it. Federal takes out their money, and then state. But music and movies, everybody get a cut before you get. Let's go on. In the past, hidden costs have catapulted artists into financial ruin. In the 90s, Atlanta girl group TLC was signed to L.A. Reid's LaFace Records and was managed by Reid's wife, Pebbles. After recouping recording costs, LaFace routinely charged TLC for a myriad of other expenses, including airline travel, hotels, promotion, food, clothing, and more. The group then had to pay lawyer fees, tax, and as the cherry on top, Pebbles was mismanaging TLC's remaining funds. See all they had to pay? All that money they had to pay back? Let's go on. As a result, each member of TLC earned less than $50K a year despite their most successful album, Crazy Sexy Cool, selling over 23 million copies. TLC's 1991 contract with LaFace revealed the trio received only 56 cents per album they sold, which they then had to split 3 ways. Given these paltry numbers, it's no surprise TLC had to file for bankruptcy in 1995. So even though Def Jam and Universal can shrug their shoulders and blame Kanye's dissatisfaction on industry standard, it's not a standard to be proud of. At best, major labels are operating on an antiquated profit model, and at worst, they're exploiting their artists. Sure, it's hard to feel sorry for a billionaire, but at the end of the day, Kanye's label has probably made a lot more money off of him than he has off of them. What comes to mind? Come on, I know y'all don't like talking about it, but what comes to mind? Slavery. Let's continue. Oh, wow, I would love to be a slave like them. No, you wouldn't. Now that all this is coming out the wash and you seeing what's actually going on with these artists in the background, no, you wouldn't. Let's continue. YEEZE swung his sword at Universal and Def Jam a second time in the same Twitter thread, calling their record deals a trap. His contracts show he's not lying. One document from 2014 gives Def Jam the benefit of an unilateral extension clause. This means as long as Kanye's a profitable investment, Def Jam can tell Kanye they're going to keep him locked into his recording contracts for an extended period of time. But what if Kanye wants out? Tough luck. Clauses like this are both common and archaic, allowing record labels to keep cash cows close to their chest for as long as possible. And Kanye is not the only musician who struggled with this rude awakening. In 93, Prince changed his name to an unpronounceable love symbol in the hopes it would make his contract with Warner Brothers unenforceable. It didn't. A similar clause is also why Keisha was notoriously blocked from breaking her contract with Sony Music despite one of the label's producers, Dr. Luke, reportedly abusing her. A New York judge told Keisha she needed Dr. Luke to approve the contract's termination. Something the producer refused. Wow. Did they not know that she was being abused and that the dude was not going to... Ooh. Let's go on. Today's artists are increasingly sounding the warning bell for the next generation of musicians. Hit Boy, a producer who's worked with Kendrick Lamar, Beyonce, and Big Sean, told Variety last week his deal with Universal was described as the worst publishing contract his lawyers had ever seen. The producer signed the deal when he was 19 and didn't even realize how bad it was until he made a hit. He quickly complained to Universal, but was told business is business, and that renegotiating the contract wasn't an option. What did I just read? I said 2 wise men. One of them was Prince when he said, "Whoever owns your masters own you. Your master owns you." And the second wise man was Master P. He said, "Folks are you're too anxious, and you're supposed to read the documents before you sign them. Stop being so damn anxious. You want the fame, you want the glitz and the glitter. That's a smoke screen. You are working. You're an employee. You have to pay for that. Not just with your time. You got to pay for it mentally. and with your body, it seems. So why are you guys so desperate to get up in Hollywood that you don't even take time out to read the contract? Even if you can't afford an attorney, and they say some of these attorneys are bought by the label, go get you a law library book. What is it? Black law dictionary. All it takes is a will to want to know what's happening. It's no excuse. There's no excuse for you to be signing these contracts and not know what the hell you signing until you get a hit and then you find out you get nothing. Come on now, I'm not even going. I will not have no compassion for you because you didn't have people. You had Master P tell you in the 90s. You had Prince tell you in the 90s, and y'all still doing the same stupid thing. And then you want to get on social media and be like, oh my God, they're really taking me. Yeah, that's because you was desperate. How many people you know who are desperate, make decisions out of desperations? That decision turned out to be a good decision. You do not make good decisions out of being desperate and thirsty. Let's go on, because I can, ooh. The trend is clear. Young artists sign contracts without reading them. Blindsided by promises of success and protection under the wing of a famous record label. Even worse, a worrying number of artists don't receive independent legal advice. Oh my God, this is so embarrassing for them. Woo! I guess that's how they feel about it. Let's be real. I don't want to say it. I'm thinking it. I don't want to say it. Let's continue. They think you stupid already. They really, based on your skin color, they think you're a stupid, ignorant person. And they get you to sign these contracts without having an attorney. I mean, let your mama or your daddy read it. If you don't have a mama and a daddy, let your auntie read it. A stranger. You can go get free legal counsel. Come on. Let's go on. Instead of choosing to trust a lawyer their record label refers them to, the result is underground double dealing and illegal conflicts of interest. Tigger, for example, signed a deal with Cash Money Records when he was 18. I had a lawyer at the time, said the rapper, but my lawyer was the same lawyer that was representing Cash Money. And these are the people y'all look up to, though, that didn't even have sense enough to go outside of the label and away from their attorneys to get an attorney who was neutral, that didn't have anything to gain from you signing or not signing that contract. Let's go on. The lawyer drafted the contract so heavily in the label's favor that Tigger to this day has never seen a dime from some of his most famous songs. Atlanta rap group Migos made similar headlines last month for suing their long-term attorney for glaring conflicts of interest with the group's label Quality Control. The root cause of these issues is how record labels draft documents. When I was scrolling through Kanye's contract, it didn't make for relaxing reading. There were 9 contracts in total, over 100 pages long. Each of them coded in unnecessary legalese that was difficult to understand. And she is an attorney, and she said it was difficult to understand. Let's go on. And I've actually been taught how to read contracts. There's no way the artists signing these things know what they are getting themselves into. So even though Kanye must have sought independent legal advice before signing his deals, I wouldn't be surprised if the rapper has found himself locked into closets he didn't grasp the significance of when he first put ink on the dotted line. Round 2 goes to Kanye. So far, Kanye's doing a pretty good job at taking down Goliath, but his quest for master ownership might be a little misguided. Legally, under the 1976 Copyright Act, artists can reclaim their masters 35 years after a record is released. YEEZE, however, won't have to wait that long. According to Republic World, A contract from 2014 shows Kanye entered into a pressing and distribution deal with Universal. While Universal manufactures and distributes the records, some of the masters are owned by another company. Reports suggest this company is Kanye's own label. If these reports are correct, they mean Kanye already owns the rights to his later albums. But the same can't be said of the rapper's earlier albums. One of the contracts continues a revision clause which states the rights for YEEZE and The Life of Pablo will revert to the rapper 20 years after each album release in 2033 and in 2036, as long as he's recouped recording costs by that time. According to Lisa Alter, a music copyright lawyer, sneaking a reversion clause like this into a major label contract is a big win. It's a sign of the huge amount of negotiating power Kanye has with Universal and reveals the narrative of Kanye being hopelessly bullied by Philistine labels is a little far-fetched. Regardless, it's unsettling that Kanye will be 56 before he gets the rights to songs he recorded when he was in his 30s. Artists who have reversion clauses like this in their contracts run the risk of having their intellectual property handed back to them after their songs no longer have any generational relevance and make minimal income. It's like asking someone to pass you the milk only for them to hand you an expired carton. By depriving artists of their masters, reversion clauses are not. Labels also benefit from a golden bargaining chip. When Taylor Swift left Big Machine Records last year, she asked them to revert her masters back to her. BMR agreed, but only if Taylor signed a new contract with them and earned her masters back one album at a time. For every new album she released, she would receive the masters to an old one. Basically, it was corporate blackmail. As Prince told Rolling Stone in '96, if you don't own your masters, your master owns you. So although Kanye might have stretched the truth about his own master's ownership, the reality on the ground for other artists is bleak. They're forced to forfeit control over their intellectual property under the guise of standard practice. Round 3 goes to Kanye. Kind of. Kanye might have won all 3 rounds, but he hasn't toppled Goliath yet. For starters, he's probably going to get sued by Universal for leaking confidential contracts. Posting his lawyer's strategy to Twitter wasn't a stroke of genius either. But in an industry where most contracts are egregious and inaccessible, record labels capitalize on a naivete of new artists, and labels keep millions of unclaimed royalties in a black box. Kanye's tweets are a welcome challenge to the status quo and are an important reminder of the seedy underbelly of the Los Angeles music scene. The fact Kanye owns a label that probably engages in the same practice, however, takes the shine off his victory. As I'm writing this conclusion, our self-declared protagonist is again mid-Twitter rant. He's come up with a new recording and publishing deal guidelines. Among them, that artists should manage their own catalogs, contracts should be written in plain English, and labels should stop calling loans advances. Although major labels are probably banging their heads against the wall right now, it feels like I'm being validated by YEEZE in real time. This latest string of tweets, erratic in true Kanye fashion, echo what Prince said years ago, following his own fractious relationship with the music industry. I would tell any young artist, don't sign. How many people listen? Just think about your everyday regular life. And people have come to you for advice, or, they said something and opened the door for you to give them advice. And how many people actually listen? How many times you tell these people, stop signing to these major record labels, they still do it. And then they cry about it later. Now what I want to do is talk a little bit about, or compare a little bit about what Master P, Percy Miller did in contrast to what Kanye and other artists after him did. Master P forged his own path. He did something I don't understand why others don't do, and why artists are still signing terrible contracts. After Master P's great example and Prince, why y'all still doing the same thing? Master P negotiated an unprecedented 80-20 distribution deal with Priority Records in '96. The deal gave No Limit Records 85% of its record sales, while Priority received 15% for distribution and pressing. No Limit kept ownership of all its master recordings. This deal made Master P's strategy of releasing albums frequently more profitable. The man didn't... Why y'all not doing the same thing? I learned this. If somebody really wants to work with you, somebody really wants to take you on and do business with you, if they really want to do it, they're going to learn or know how to compromise. If they get you in and try to pressure you to sign something, hey, don't worry about it. Don't worry. You don't have to read it. We got you. Nah. And if you say, no, let me sit on this for a while. Let me sit on this and let me look into this. Let me get my people to check it out. If they really want to work with you and they're not trying to screw you, they won't have no problem doing that. And then coming back with some revisions like, hey, wait a minute, I didn't like this paragraph. Oh, I didn't like this section. And no, this is not going to work for me. If they really want to work with you and do business with you and not treat you as their dumb slaves or not treat you as their slaves, it's not going to be a problem with you asking them to omit things or include things. I mean, you got to realize this is a business deal between both of you. It's not one person is not supposed to just benefit from it. It's a business deal. So I'm supposed to be blessed with this deal too, not just you. Y'all might as well just let them put shackles on your feet, because that's what these deals sound like. You sound like a whole slave, not a half a slave, a whole slave. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And I'm not saying I'm embarrassed, but I feel embarrassed for you. That they already think lowly of you because you're a black person. And then you don't have the God-given sense to slow down and have somebody look over that contract with you and for you. That you so thirsty for fame that you just go ahead and sign this like the big oath they think you are. Let's go. I would. That's why I don't follow celebrities, and I thank God my mother instilled that into me. Ooh. Some of these people will lead you off a cliff, and y'all will willingly go with them. Some of them don't know their head from their feet, and you still follow them. Let's go on. Here are more examples of how artists get and got screwed without Vaseline or some sort of baby oil. I'm sorry if that was a bad joke at a bad time, but that's just how I feel right now. Y'all just getting screwed without Vaseline. They don't even take the time to even put water on it. Just some water if you ain't got Vaseline. They don't even want to do that. Let's go on. John Oates of the Hall, John and Hall Oates. The story, this is what he said. That's the story of the music business, says John Oates, the half of Rock and Roll Hall of Fame duo Hall and Oates, who went independent almost 20 years ago amid frustration over their financial arrangements with labels. It goes back to the earliest days. Take it back to give him a bottle of wine and take all his publishing for the rest of his life. That just sounds so evil. Here are more examples of bad recording contracts. Little Richard. Art Group owner of Specialty Records purchased the publishing rights to Richard's hit single Tutti Frutti for a reported $50. With that move, the label owned both the sound recording and publishing side of his breakthrough hit, leaving the artist with a 0.5 cent royalty rate per record. With a 0.5 a cent royalty rate per record. Is that even possible to get half of a cent? Let's continue. Richard reportedly said of his deal, "The only way I can break it is if I die or by an act of God. So I'm going to join a ministerial college. The rest is history." Another group called Unlocking the Truth, they prove that nothing much has changed in label contracts. This child metal band out of Brooklyn signed a deal with Sony last July. That was in 2020. This article came out in 2020, promising $1.7 million, but only if they're able to sell 250,000 records. A feature for industry stalwarts at this point. I don't know if they meant standards or stalwarts. I don't know. In the following months, a few outlets reported that due to the way their contract works, the band is technically $60K in debt to Sony at the moment. The kids must have caught on recently, teenage guitarist and songwriter Malcolm Brickhouse said, "Our attorneys are working on our exit from Sony now. Time will tell if Unlocking the Truth is successful in this endeavor." I don't know, because I've never heard of them. Well, even if they do metal, you still would see something, you know. I mean, they supposedly do metal music, so you would see something. Okay, let's go on. Chuck Berry's single, Maybelline. The Chess brothers made him share songwriting credit right on the label with a prominent disc jockey as well as with the company's landlord. You see it? Okay, let's go on. Tommy James, the maestro behind Crystal Blue Persuasion, and I Think We're Alone Now, entered into a deal with Roulette Records, a label notorious for its mobbed-up boss, Morris Levy. Not only did Levy reportedly bilk James out of $30 to $40 million, his involvement in a gang war left his client on the wrong side of a mafia hit. When the Gambino family forced Morris to flee to Spain in 1971, Levy ties to the Genovese clan with whom the Gambinos warred. James was told that in the absence of Levy, the mob would come after him. James wound up leaving New York City for Tennessee. Fortunately, that's all I got for you guys. I didn't know I was going to be as aggravated as I became reading this article. I really did become aggravated because it just seemed like a lot of these things these artists did just lack common sense. You know, you might, well, why you're judging them? Because I am, because I can. And it's a difference. You're talking about there's a judge in where you're being sanctimonious and you're condemning people, and there's a judge in where you're like, look, this is right and this is wrong. So there's nothing wrong with that, people. So stop with that. Stop. Oh my God, you're judging. Some people need to judge. And realistically, we judge all day, every day. When you wake up in the morning and decide what you're going to eat. When you wake up in the morning and decide what you're going to wear. When you wake up, when you meet somebody on the street and the conversation is cool and you're deciding in your mind, am I going to go further with this? Do I want to give them my phone number? Do I want to bring new friends into my life? That's a judgment, but there's such thing as a good judgment, people. So stop being parrots and letting these people make you think that anytime you use your brain and come up with a conclusion, or you're observing something and you express what you observe, they're condemning you, making you think you're judging all the time. Stop, knock that off. But yeah, that article just bothered me because it was like, God. The moral of the story, people, I'm not calling artists, people who sign these deaf contracts or people who sign these ridiculous contracts, I'm not calling them I'm not calling them derogatory names. What I mean is, I don't know the circumstances behind why they signed these contracts. They could have, Could have been some bad times, and they felt like that's the only choice they had. But if you're not in a bad situation and you're offered a contract, take some time and read it, or have somebody read it with you or for you. Go get a law library book. Go get a law dictionary. Go to a law library. I know they have one out here where I live. You'll be surprised how many people will be willing to help you for free when they find out that you want to learn something. Some people actually love when people want to learn something. And you just ask the question, and you'll be surprised the wealth will pour out of people when you ask, can you help me? Stop being so arrogant or insecure and nobody gonna help me. You won't know if you don't ask. You know how much help I got just asking? You know how many legal cases I fought on my own until I got an attorney? But it's not hard, people. You just gotta research, and you can actually represent yourself and not fail. It's just a lot of legal lingo to intimidate you, to distract you. It's just dumb. It's dumbfounding how many people don't like to read. How do you go through life not wanting to read or not knowing how to read? How do you do that? And then when it comes to medication, you're supposed to read those directions and understand them. So reading to me is like life or death. When something says don't touch this and don't do that, and you don't even know how to read to understand what it's telling you. Yeah, I wanted to come up with a business where I was, I can't even remember what it was. They had to do something about reading and writing letters for people. Because there are a lot of people who don't know how to write letters, how to write business letters. A lot of people don't know how to do that. You be surprised. And now with modern technology, you really don't know how to. You don't even have to know how to write anymore. All you got to do is talk. And I wonder if they wrote those things for people who are illiterate. It's not funny. I'm not being funny at all. It's dangerous to be illiterate. It's dangerous to not know how to read and comprehend. Yes, it is. All right, I'm done with this interview. I'm done with this article. Thank you, people who came and listened to the whole thing. It helps folks, listening to 5 minutes and 10 minutes of the vid. Yeah. Okay, but thank you to those who listened to the entire video. I appreciate you. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for your support. Thank you. And I will see you in the next video.